Today's call, this gathering is for our Circle online community. As always, as a great thank you for generating so much wonderful energy in this world. And that's what it's all about. Why is a circle, and I mean now planetary circle, so important at this time? It is because we are still surrounded and often even permeated by those forces of imbalance. They are still here. They can no longer hide in the interdimensional spaces where they used to hide. And so they are now here. And they can enter the human mind. They can actually enter the human body. They can act. And the mask that is hiding all of us, really, whether we are angels, whether we are masters, whether we are demons, that is too in this world. The mask is the same. It is the human body. And so we are coming to that convergence point where humanity will realize how samsara, how the false matrix came into being. That convergence point is happening in a few weeks, maybe months. I know it's very, very near, I can tell. And I'm not the only one, of course. And so what is going to happen is we realize these bodies have been hiding behind the mask of the body something else, whether it is great consciousness or great evil. And so the mistake that we all surely have been making is to look at each other and say, that's a human, that's a human, that's a human, that's a human. I can tell it's a human. And yet there are angels, masters, great beings here, great light and great darkness behind the mask of the body. And so right now, this is not an easy time. I don't know if you noticed, since the winter or December solstice in this world, we had a push towards chaos. And that can be happening internally within a person. It can be suddenly the mind goes into very big, dark corners or even just into doubt. And so I'm going to talk about the importance of being centered, which to me is a circle, to be centered and to always support each other, not to drift away, because the darkness wants us to drift away. It's trying so hard. It's been trying so hard. And, we've had the merging of the realms. I will speak about it too. These are the last moments of darkness on planet Earth. But because they are the last moments, it also means that they are still trying so hard to create chaos within and without. So for that, I'm so grateful to have this online community where we support each other to stay focused on what really matters. And this is something that actually took place in the higher realms last night. I always say the mystery is big, and here how this sharing came into being is I was teaching for many years in this lifetime, but I was also teaching for many other lifetimes, not only on planet Earth. So we all have different gifts, of course, and we must accept our own gifts and not to want to have something else. So whatever our purpose is in cosmos, we fulfill it. So some people are healers, some people are teachers, some people are actually great, great, great masters. Some people could be artists who bring through different inspirational and healing art, and so on and so on. So whatever we are in cosmos, that's what we do here behind the mask of a human being. I discovered that we have a mask when I was 13 because I was deeply meditating. I was just profoundly meditating every single day. I was using the Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, not the Egyptian one. And I was simply following the instructions. I didn't know why I'm doing it. I just felt so driven and so compelled. And I only had that one passion. And I didn't know what it is that I was going after, really. I just knew I had to do it. And so as I was doing it passionately, suddenly truly a tornado entered my crown. I was alone in my bedroom. I was sitting on my bed, and this tornado pulled the entire spirit out. It didn't leave anything behind. There was nothing left behind. I completely disconnected from physical reality, and that's very different from an out-of-body experience. If you have an out-of-body experience, of course, very big part of your consciousness, of your spirit and your soul light is still connected to your body. So it means, of course, you will return. I was in a state of complete gone. There was nothing left behind. So I got to experience the fullness of who we truly are as spirit, not even as the soul. This was beyond. This was not my etheric body. It was not my soul light. I was totally out in the divine self that we are. So I now know when I speak about the divine self what it is. I could never know normally, divine self normally doesn't really even have contact with the vast majority of human beings because, as you know, we disconnected so much from that communion through the fall of our own axis, which is our spine. And so at the age of 13, I got to experience that the body is just a completely, I would even say, unimportant, disconnected vessel from the divine self. To the divine self, the body is like, what is that? What am I supposed to do with this? This has nothing to do with who I am. And because I got to experience the complete goneness from the physical body in a way that it became something I could not relate to. I just could not relate to it. As my divine self, I was looking at it going, what is this? How can the divine self ever operate in this tiny little thing? And I was not, looking at the size of a body because as a 13-year-old, you already have a kind of bigger body. But the thing is, I knew the difference. And so in this difference, it was like, a life-changing, of course. I realized that the body is really a mask. And so we cannot see the divine self at all through the body. There is nothing that the body can express when it comes to our divinity. It is completely not important, non-existent, irrelevant to the divine self. And so we are now in this big mystery where much will be revealed about the body. It's not that it's bad, it's just not important because it doesn't in any way affect or define the divine self. The divine self really doesn't know what to do with it. It's like, what is this? How is this light that I am can ever be expressed by this tiny little thing? Let alone how can the divine self fit in any way into this? And so, that obviously changed my consciousness forever until more and more started to unfold. And so what is happening here on planet Earth is the convergence point in which we will come to the realization of the divine self and the body as two completely separate operating systems, and that the personality self is like an infection, it's a toxin, and the toxin has poisoned the minds and the hearts of, I would say, almost everyone. That's why we call it delusion. So this is the end of the disease that we thought was reality. This is so big and the mystery is big, and behind all of this is something so very beautiful. When we look around, we might see people and always think, oh, that's a person, that's a person, that's a person, and we might treat them as such. But now it's the time of realization, and it will become very obvious that not everything that has a body is a person. And I mean really a child of God. And it doesn't mean that there is like some kind of a separation between the angels and the demons. So as long as a being originated as the divine self, they will return to the divine self or the soul plane. It really depends on how much they can self-realize. I would assume that most people will self-realize their soul because there's still a lot going on in the soul plane, but some people will be liberated and will become the immortal ones and will self-realize the divine self. And none of it is judgment, or none of it is like separating people into groups. At the level of children of God, we all are equal and one. And so the oneness of all life is really what matters. And the rest is just whatever nature does to us. Either it's going to be the soul plane or the immortality as the divine self. But there are beings that maybe became very evil, and maybe they were, originated in the demonic realm. And if they if they originally originated as the children of God, but then they went, into the evil realms, they will still return to being a child of God. But there are also beings who are totally artificial through artificial technologies, and that too will be revealed. It already has been revealed in higher realms. And of course, they don't have a soul, and they can have a body, but they don't have a soul, and they don't have a divine self. They are completely artificial, but they can too be hiding behind the skin of a body, since that's just really, it's even the body itself is kind of like technology. When you think about it, it's almost like a biological, physiological AI. And so there is a lot going on here, and hopefully everybody's feeling very balanced and empowered. And the reason why I'm saying this, there is a reason why I'm saying this. I don't ever share anything that doesn't have a reason where we can all use that information or knowledge in a positive way. So I want to use it in a positive way. This ascension process has been all about Divine Mother. It has been about the restoration of her body into oneness, so that there is no longer what people call archons, so that there is no longer the demon kind, there is no longer the forces of darkness, because we are coming to pure nature. In the past, we had impure nature and pure nature, and this is a cosmic event of cosmic proportion, that pure and impure nature came together already in cosmos, and they became one again. There is oneness of all life right now permeating all things. And of course, in this realm, we still have stuff going on, but these are the last moments of this battle. It used to be a battle, and now it's just kind of dissolution, merging, realization, purification, and rearrangement of all things. So it's very different from anything anyone has ever experienced in cosmos. This was first announced to us on 11/11 in 2021 in Sedona, when the Great Ones appeared, and they said, okay, we now know how this will actually proceed and end, and it will be a happy end. And so we have been moving towards this happy end. Happy end and a new beginning. The new beginning is going to be so different from anything else we have ever experienced in cosmos, in this universe, and in this galaxy. Our galaxy has been corrected. Our galaxy had a glitch. And that's just simply what happens in creation. Everything is like a big experiment. So not all things end up working perfectly. And yet in the end, they all do. It's not a big deal in cosmos when something doesn't really work well, because eventually it will. Cosmos operates the same way like nature. And so you have seeds. These are potentials. They are all divine potentials. And then conditions give rise to some of the seeds to sprout and grow and then blossom, just like trees of life. And some seeds are simply dormant. They are not sprouting. And so nature doesn't worry about these things. The cosmic nature allows all things to come into sprouting whenever the time is right. And the time is cosmic. There is no rush. There is never impatience. There is never panic at the cosmic level. It just simply all goes with one flow. And so that's what's happening here on this planet. And that means right now, all seeds will be sprouting. After all, this is called ascension. That means we are all graduating into this new beginning within cosmos. Our galaxy has been reorganized. We no longer will have Kali Yuga in the future. Dark Age will no longer be the reality of this galaxy. So we are rearranging even the galaxy. All this has taken place recently. So on 11/11 last year, as we call it, Divine Mother's body has been restored. This is huge because we know, and many seers have been reporting on this, Divine Mother's presence will be completely new in this world this year, and it will happen on March equinox. Many things are changing in the ethers. I've been meditating maybe, I don't know, 6-9 hours a day since winter solstice. And that is required right now for those who know, like, we need to know what our role is. We cannot know what our role is if we are in delusion. We must go within to be always ready, like a soldier for Divine Mother who must be ready to do what needs to be done. And that requires incredible inner concentration. So I recommend, and today we will do the meditation, and of course, as Circle, we will continue to do that. Be ready for the mother. Some people misunderstand a lot of things in this world because when we are in delusion, we see things through the eyes of delusion. So then we might be making judgments about things and, we might say things that are just delusional. But when we go within and we find that and restore the communion with the divine self, but truly, not just thinking it, some people go into the delusion of thinking, oh, now I am my divine self. So they have this spiritual arrogance. That is not divine self. The divine self is a complete transformation of consciousness that you can easily, for example, see when you look at something about Anandamayi Ma. She was 100% her divine self. That's such a great example of a being that ceased to exist. She never existed as a human. And actually, when Anandamayi Ma was what we call it in this world dying, people were saying, we don't want you to go. And she said, I'm not going anywhere because I've never been here. And to me, that's exactly the words of the divine self. She always spoke in complete what we would call dichotomy. And that is also the divine self. She would behave differently in front of different people. And that also is perfectly the divine self who cannot be predictable and doesn't observe any social norms because to the divine self, they do not exist and don't make any sense. And so Anandamayi Ma is a great example of the divine self, among many others, of course, among many others. The divine self doesn't operate to please anyone. The divine self doesn't even want to be nice or smile. It is expressionless. And so when it operates through a human being, it will operate differently through different human beings, like, for example, Yogananda, or recently we mentioned many different mystics who embody the divine self, like Milarepa, the teachings of the Tao, the Bhagavad Gita, Nisargadatta Maharaj. So all of them, you realize there is a pattern behind it. And that pattern is incredible. And that is the divine self. So if, we think in a delusion, oh, surely I have embodied my divine self, but we still think like the human person that we have been before, then probably it's wishful thinking. So we need to go within more. And we will do that together. End of delusion. Divine Mother's body has been restored. Divine Mother has been fully liberated. And that's why she will be so present in this world in this year. Some of you came with us to Joshua Tree, the portal of Christ consciousness in the national park. And this was in December. This was groundbreaking energetically because, again, you'll see many people who are connected to the work that is being done here in this world, all around the world. Usually it's people who have a lot of memories of Mu. So the ones, the rainbow children of God, of course, of Mu, that we are. So they have been reporting on this Venetian energy. I saw some people in New Zealand, they witnessed that the portal to Venus has opened. And of course, it's always working together. Nobody has a trademark on this. And if somebody tries to have a trademark, Divine Mother will take it off very quickly. So no ego can actually be allowed in the work for Divine Mother. I remember when Divine Mother was testing us and when she was sending us into this world, and she tested every single one of us for several reasons. One of them was fearlessness. One of them was the ability to be in this world and not of this world. And one of them was no ego. So if you're standing in front of a big audience and everybody's clapping, you don't take that praise as praise for yourself, but you give it to Divine Mother because we have done nothing. We just do it for her. And so the work was done for her. And so the portal to Venus opened, but something really, many magical things happened. One of the things that happened in the oasis of Mara, which happens to really be called Mara, which you recognize as Maravati. So this oasis of Mara, when we meditated there, we meditated with Sanat Kumara, and of course Sanat Kumara appeared, but suddenly the elemental queendom became visible. And we have several seers in our group, and so I always welcome all seers to always see for themselves. I never want to be the one to say, "Oh, did you see this?" and nobody sees it. That is not validating. It's always so amazing when we have several seers, the real seers, who can see into these other realms, and they see the same thing, of course. And so we had several seers who saw the elemental queendom. This was so fascinating. So we sitting in the oasis, which is really beautiful, close to where Yogananda lived for 4 years. And the elemental queendom became visible. And they started clapping to us. And we are sitting in meditation and I'm watching them and they clapping. And they said, when you are done meditating, can you clap back for us? And so, we together then clapped for the elemental queendom. And then later we went to meditate at a different place where we were meditating with Divine Mother. And, you are in the desert. This is not Hawaii. But the goddess Pele came among us and she started walking among us. And I was looking at her thinking, what is Pele doing here? I've seen her before. But last time I saw her, I was on the Big Island. So I was surprised to see her in Joshua Tree. And this was Saturday, December 6, 2025. So for those of you, some of you live on Hawaii, some of you pay attention to these things. In that moment, I am not kidding you, the rare Trinity lava fountains erupted on the Big Island, and it was Trinity. And this was crazy because it was super rare, but it happened in that moment. And I saw it with my third eye, and Pele was just telling me, don't worry, this is nothing disruptive. This is just excitement. I'm so excited for this elemental queendom. I'm so excited, she kept saying. And so this was her excitement. You can look at the videos and the time. It was unbelievable. It was just then. And so I say this is all about Divine Mother. There is absolutely no ego allowed when one works for Divine Mother. One would have to go in delusion, and Divine Mother can do that. And then she puts a stop to all work because she only accepts those, her children of rainbow light that we are, who can selflessly serve, take no personal praise for anything, be so empty that even a thank you is too much because that thank you goes to Divine Mother. So yesterday on the inner planes last night, there was a big gathering with a lot of us, humans. I know behind the mask we are all something else, but let's call us humans in this world. And some humans who have been on a spiritual path came, and they came in great doubt, and they were truly filled with doubt. They were doubting the path of self-realization. They were doubting some teachings. They were doubting even, some information about Divine Mother. And so Divine Mother actually asked us to address the doubt, because doubt is a toxin. It's a distraction from the focus that needs to be on the work, on service. Like I said, a soldier who is ready to be here for Divine Mother in every moment without a personal agenda. We must always be ready, whatever is required of us, of course, to do it, because that's how the divine self operates. If there is resistance, if there is doubt, which is resistance, then we are not available, of course, to serve. And so Divine Mother said something really funny last night. She said, if I was sitting in front of these people, they would not recognize me. And she said, if Divine Father was sitting in front of these doubtful people, they wouldn't even recognize him. And then she said, if what we call Jesus was sitting in front of these people, what would they do? They probably crucify him. And so that was, what happened last night. And so that's why I find our circle so valuable, to be also the circle of purification, of doubt, and to be focused on the divine self. The divine self has no doubt. All doubt belongs to the realm of delusion. The divine self always is 100% clear about all things, and it doesn't need anything else because it is the embodiment of complete clarity. As you know, I promise that we will be doing some work for liberation in this family time that we have here with Divine Mother, who always is present on these calls as Lakshmi. And that's something that I just always know, that this work is not done through us, through any words that we speak here. It's the presence of Lakshmi and many other divine beings who come to hang out with us, through us, supporting all of us. So last night also, what I was able to see is we were shown the entire map of the world as this. And there were these red lines everywhere. And of course, we know we have tectonic plates, so they look like this. And then the map that was shown to us in great detail also had the red dots, which we know as volcanoes. And then an invisible hand came and started to move these plates around. I didn't see any distractions, I didn't see anything, but it was just fascinating. I watched this, with my third eye. I was doing some chanting last night. And so I was just watching it, not really fully understanding, as I often don't understand at all what it all means. But my purpose is not to understand, my purpose is to see. And so I'm a seer who delivers that. Many of you have received the violet flame angel of resurrection that was created through us. And this was always a request. I know that no request like this will come again. I already have seen the future of many different things. So this is the last creation that was requested by the elemental queendom. In the past we had the blue light divine mother, which is amazing that she's now anchored in this world. And there was something so fascinating about this. When this request came, it was the request to create, through this sacred Buddha crystal glass, angel, violet flame, angel of resurrection. And I didn't know that I needed to pack them really, really well. And so several of them arrived broken. And so people reached out to me, and I was meditating. I was traveling and I was meditating. Why would they arrive broken except for the fact that I didn't pack them well? And then the angel, because they were blessed by the elemental queendom, came to me, and the elemental queendom said, we need to be buried in the ground because we have the elemental substance that will be igniting the planetary grids. And then one of you reached out to me from Hawaii saying, I was told to bury the angel in the ground. And of course, we replaced the angels too. We sent the new ones, the not broken ones, now packaged much better. But it was so interesting that these blessed angels, they were blessed by the elemental queendom. This was so unbelievable. She wanted them in the ground. And so every single one of them who had broken wings, we put in the ground and we buried them to emanate light into these new planetary grids. So if you have the angel, I just wanted to explain one thing. If I was ever telling you something that didn't really happen, I would never be allowed to be a seer. A seer has incredible responsibility to be accurate and impeccable in seeing and in delivering what you see and not trying to explain it unless you were given the explanation. It's like when you have this contract with the divine, it would be absolutely unethical to ever say anything that is not true. That's how I operate. What I know, I know. What I don't know, I don't know. That's it. Boom. So when these angels were about to be shipped, and I had them in my home, the elemental queendom came and truly created an explosion of light, and it was the golden white light over these angels. And so what it's telling me is that every single one of them, again, is working on the planetary grids, which is something huge that will happen in 2026. The planetary grids will be ignited. And part of the process, of course, has been anchoring divine energies into matter, onto the land, into our homes, through sacred objects. The realms have been merging. A lot of the human people, sometimes zombies, sometimes ghosts, have been liberated, which is huge. A lot of entities have been liberated because the great ones are back. And I only dare to say this because I met with Swami Kaleshwar, whose birthday we celebrated with Alex. Many of you were on the call. Alex Atterman, his student and a teacher. And so I reached out to Alex because I met with the child that Swami is now. And he told me quite a lot of detail about his birth. He told me quite a lot of detail about what will happen when he starts growing up. I was shown where he was born. I was shown to whom he was born. And one of the things that really puzzled me so much is that apparently, and I only learned this after I met Swami in higher realms, is that he knew that he would be born to a German mother. Now, this is so puzzling to me because I just saw him in the higher realms a few days ago, and many of you were visited by him on his birthday, and he was working through all of us who are part of his lineage as Shiva lineage. What was incredible to me is when Alex and Gillian, also here on the call, she confirmed that he knew he was going to be born to a German mother. And he revealed to me much more, of course. So I want to say not only this great one, but several other great ones have already come back into this world or will be coming back into this world in the next few weeks. This is truly incredible. So, what is important when these big beings are born into this world is to lay the body of the baby that they are obviously not, because the consciousness is too big to be a child, as you know. The consciousness is too big to be that small child, and yet they have to operate through this body here in this world. But it is important when they come, these great ones, that the parents, of course, they know, and they know that they lay the babies on the ground, and that instantaneously sends a vibration through this planet to all of humanity who is the child of God. I also want to say, the great ones, I've communicated with the great ones for a very long time, for many lifetimes, not even here on this planet, like all of you have, whether you remember it or not. And the great ones also allow for spontaneous change. It doesn't all have to be predicted to be exactly the way that they said, because miracles can unfold. And I know for sure the miracles have unfolded. And this is a different timeline that they didn't even count with. This is a surprise within this universe. This is very fascinating and, of course, life-changing, and much more will be revealed to us. There is so much happening. I like to do these calls for an hour so I don't, take too much of your time, but there's so much going on. So, Divine Mother, Divine Father, whatever form he takes, I've seen Divine Father in several forms. I even seen him in a form of a young white man, not with the beard ever, but here I have him as Shiva. But I wanted to show you a little visualization that I created from last night, how from the heart of the Mother, the Holy Trinity is now going to be present for humanity. So this is the other form that I met Divine Father in as well. I'll play one more time because I think the Holy Trinity is now here. And, we are just one of the great teams who have worked on this. I posted a little visualization. I'm learning new technologies, and I think this is a good use of technology to create multidimensional chronicles. And this one has audio. Now, I didn't time the audio at all to be so perfectly aligned with what you will see. So this animation is about you and me and everyone as a child of God arriving in this world to be part of Ascension. was inspired by my divine self in meditation to start putting out some content about, visually appealing content about multidimensional realities to help others. One of the reasons for that is because, of course, in this world, not everyone is aware of multidimensional reality. And so I know of several, and it's just my little world, of several young people who are being medicated because they are clairvoyant, because they see multidimensional reality. And so we want to avoid that and to bring out tools to empower those who are not familiar with multidimensional reality. Plus, a lot of us are on YouTube watching some interviews with people. There's a lot of nonsense out there. And we all recognize nonsense when we have been in multidimensional reality, that it is misleading people. I don't want to ever, for anyone, whether we are friends or not, I don't want anyone to be misled into realities that actually do not exist or do not benefit us. So I wanted to speak a little about moderation. Sorry, moderation. I was thinking about multidimensional reality and put it into one word. An experience that I had out of body. I recently had many out of body experiences that were very, very revealing, and that's only possible because the realms are merging. So this one, I posted in Circle, but I wanted to share this one because it was a huge revelation, huge revelation. So I came out of body, and instantaneously I was asking Divine Father if I could understand, because when you're out of body in your yogic state, you have different consciousness. I wanted to understand what is it still that we are dealing with as humanity in this collapsed false matrix. What is still creating this chaos, and not just within, but without in the world, and why we don't have the new earth reality just yet. So out of body, I was like a rocket and I was able to fly around the world, and I was flying distinctly above some regions with ocean and ice. Now, I cannot tell you 100% that I ended up in Antarctica, but it is the only thing that makes sense to me because I was either at North Pole or South Pole. But since South Pole is a landmass, then I decided that would make sense because what I saw is exactly what you see here. I saw a kind of what I would call a base, and the base was mainly underground, and I was able to see underground because when you're out of body, you're able to travel through matter. And so I was able to go in, but also to see it from above. And this was a base that I would say is very secret for sure. And the only reason why this has been revealed was, the request to still understand what's going on and to see something so mind-boggling. This was kind of what I would call a nefarious base operated by beings who are not friends of humankind and not humans. And so I was able to go inside, and I was part of what was taking place inside, which was very disturbing. But I'm just, again, I don't want to like share disturbing things without a happy end. So there will be a happy end. And I could see that they are actually producing what we would call AI humans, and that there is no way that anyone would know that they are different from us. There was no way. They were in perfect bodies. They were brought into existence as technology that would then receive the human body. This was not even like hybrids, none of that. It was just totally technology that ends up with a human body. So it was programmed to speak like human. It was programmed to live like human. It was programmed to know all the things that humans know, and then released into this world with memories of childhood that never happened, with memories of growing up that never happened, totally released into this society. What was so disturbing to me, though, that also was eye-opening, was the training that they were receiving. And the training was to be unconscious. The training was to be cruel, even violent, to enjoy violence, to enjoy abuse, to be rude, to be selfish, to be greedy. And this was a training they were receiving. I was watching them getting trained. They were truly entertained by chaos, by pain. They were entertained by abuse. They were entertained by suffering and then released into the society to operate just like us in a human body that you would not be able to distinguish from a naturally born human body. And I was told that in this world we have children of God. And these children of God are who we are, the rainbow children, and that we have God essence, and that we have God consciousness, that we love harmony, that we understand the underlying oneness of all life, that we are kind, that we want to serve, that we have goodwill, that we care, that we realize that we want to care for this planet, we want to care for nature, we want to care for each other. Whereas these other humans, the AI kind of clones, they don't care at all. And I saw what happens when they are released into this world. They are fully integrated into our culture. And then they set the tone to culture. They set the tone to the companies in this world. They set the tone to the financial system. They set the tone to the movies, to the games that people play. They set tone to things like our sexuality. And then the children of God feel overwhelmed and they shut down and they feel helpless and they feel like, how could this be? How could anyone be like that? And so I saw that these artificially created humans that we cannot distinguish from humans are always trying to shock the children of God so that we are feeling weak, so that we are feeling helpless, so that we are in shock, feeling like, how could this be? And this has been playing out. If I don't know if you watch the news, but they are the ones who generate the news, seeing the shocking things so that we feel despair. So this to me is very important because we're coming to the convergence with AI. We are still in the past. This is not the present moment. This past already happened. We are coming to the convergence point where 4 timelines that we traveled through, this is the convergence point is here now, and we must make a decision. That's why we came here. This is the most important moment of everyone's many lifetimes. This is the most important moment of every single person who is a child of God. That's you in this world. You came here for this moment. We've been working towards this moment. This is the convergence point at which humanity will realize what AI has been capable of and how it played out in the creation of the false matrix, which we nicely call samsara. What we think are humans around us don't have to be humans around us. But the thing is that we could never tell except for their behavior, except for their actions, except for their ability to be cruel, violent, rude, selfish, and greedy. The children of God have God consciousness, which is always goodwill, which is always sensitive for all life. Sensitivity, they try to shock us so that our hearts close. But they, for some reason, needed us in this world because we are creator beings. They cannot create anything but artificial intelligence. So this is important. None of this is hopefully too much. I want to make it so practical that we must exactly stay in our own God consciousness. And I recommend actually, after all these years, not paying any attention to what you see in the news because it's artificially created to keep us always in a low vibration, shocked, disillusioned, helpless. And more is to come, of course, because the convergence point hasn't come yet, but we are so close to it. So, I've been spending so many hours in meditation, doing all sorts of breathing techniques, moving energy, going into the highest state of consciousness I can with the breathing techniques, which I will again, they are the same ones I've always shared, but the same thing again and again and again, but much more than ever before, because I know how important this is. Because right now, the battle, they trying really hard, because now it's the battle over timelines. We will come to the point, we are still in the past. This is so mind-boggling, isn't it? We are still in the past. So I have these 4 timelines here, and I've mentioned these before because I know we traveled through them to be here now, in this past, to make sure that we don't all become completely AI in a body. How can we do that? There is one timeline you've always known. That's the one we came here for, and that is the timeline of nature. As simple as it sounds. And yes, I can use AI to do my searches and I can generate my graphics, but this is much bigger what is happening here. It is about merging biology with AI, merging physiology with AI, and merging human beings with AI. It already happened, and that's why we are in the past. So I created this cool visual to see the outcome. This is the outcome. Several people that I know who travel out of body the way I do as mystics, we end up on the new earth. Yes, exactly. Our goal is about merging with the divine self. And so you and me here are so blessed that Divine Mother brought us together, because I know for sure she did. And she gave us the greatest tool, and that is we have Orin, we have Yogananda to merge with the divine self and to know the truth of what is happening in these timelines, because some people don't see what is really happening. They will be, we don't want people to end up like people on Pluto, because we already know it already happened on Pluto, where the civilization of Pluto is really what I would call like a concentration camp, where everybody has a chip in the crown. And once you have a chip in the crown, you cannot operate with your divine self and higher consciousness. All of this is so crazy, isn't it? But it's a good job that I know that it sounds crazy, because crazy people don't know they sound crazy. So I want to promise you this is just multidimensional reality. So I'm dedicated, and my lifestyle, which is truly rooted in meditation, every single day in my meditation room reflects it. My family knows what's important, and that is meditation. And so our day is structured around actually my meditation, so that everything can be quiet, so that we can go deep within and make contact with the divine self and only know the truth from the divine self, which never is words, but it is a tool that we all have, and that is simply going so silent and seeking, seeking, seeking until we crack the code and find. And then, of course, when we all operate on the level of the divine self, that's all it takes to create a beautiful world. I really don't know about some of the things that are being asked here in the chat, but all I know is what I know. But this is what I created for us today, the merging of the timelines so that we select nature, and we'll speak about it, and then go into the new earth. And so what is happening right now? I'll simplify. We have been in touch with many different star nations. For me, it's the Hopi family in the stars, not just the family here. That's not exactly how it works. There are star nations, and the Hopi are part of a great star nation. They are part of a great star nation that works with the Kachinas, and the Kachinas are very, very real, supernatural beings. So all these beings, when they come to us, they always give us instructions on what is important and what we need to focus on. And then we share it here. And, if hopefully it's always useful, hopefully it doesn't disturb you, some of the information, but empower you. Empowerment is always our goal. Have the tools every day, whether you come on these calls or not, have the tools. I don't have a personal agenda. That's really, that would be against Divine Mother to have a personal agenda. So I used to do these calls with 20 people, then 50 people, then 100 people. And I don't care how many people come or go as long as we keep serving. Because if there is one person who can then use the tool, that is amazing, let alone hundreds. And so we are all here to share the good tools to help as many as can receive us. The most important tool that we have right now is daily synchronization with the new electromagnetic field of the Earth. Being empowered by natural, not artificial, electromagnetic fields. The false matrix had a false electromagnetic field that was there to control our senses. We all have had manipulated senses. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Again, it's not about us, it's not about anything. Like when you go to YouTube, everybody wants to have likes, everybody wants to have comments, everybody wants to have views. We don't do that. This is much bigger than that. There is no cosmic like you can get on this one. So, really, this is all about the oneness of all life. The electromagnetic senses have been manipulated. Sorry, our senses have been manipulated through electromagnetic fields. That's why we need to go to the real electromagnetic field, which can only be found in nature. The more nature, the better. If you can get away from all these fields, like when we go to Joshua Tree National Park, even if you don't come with us, go on your own. Again, like I don't do events so that people come. We do events when there is a mission. And if there's no mission, we don't do anything. So go to the beautiful Joshua Tree National Park. Be in some kind of nature where there is no Wi-Fi, no cell phone service, to be able to remember what the human being should vibrate as. And of course, without shoes, connecting with the earth through feet. That alone is very, very important. So I mentioned, yes, thank you for reminding us about Patricia. So I spoke with Patricia a few days ago. So we are definitely working some things out so that she can keep on sharing, of course, and we will continue to support Patricia. One thing that she mentioned in her email, among others, is that there will be changes to the electromagnetic grid in 2026. So we have always known that, as you know, and that is why this spring March equinox, for some of you again, fall equinox, will be so powerful. So we are now building up towards, I call it reception for Divine Mother. Some people might think that's not important, but imagine receiving Divine Mother back into this world. That's what's going to happen in March equinox. And it will happen as divine love. We will be anchoring her divine love into this world in a whole new way, in a tangible way. Some people even see that she will be walking upon the land. That's totally possible. As she said last night, if I sat in front of humanity, they would not recognize me. So we want to be the team who knows when she is here and recognize her and celebrate her and welcome her and give her all that love that she counts on. In the past, mystics always said, you need to love Divine Mother. when they knew Divine Mother. You need to love her with all your heart. She needs your love. She needs your adoration. And sometimes it sounded strange. Why would she need our adoration? But I always compare it as a mother to my own children. Don't we as parents, whether, if you have kids, then you will understand. As parents, of course, we want a loving relationship with our children. It's not selfish to want to be loved as a parent. It's actually an expression of love. I love you, and how wonderful you love me too. It's a relationship after all. Divine Mother loves relationships. Divine Father loves us so much that it is so wonderful to love him back too. Not for anything except for everything. Yesterday, some seers were saying that Divine Mother will come into this world in a whole new way. And actually, Brian, my husband, and I went for a walk. We felt compelled that we needed to go on a walk. And I was just staring at the sky and I was saying, I feel like we're going to see these rainbow portals that we have been seeing recently. And we saw rainbow portals that was the second best in my life that I've ever seen. Isn't that amazing? So this is totally unedited and not enhanced. You know how you can enhance photos. This is how bright this was, and this is how opal-like the other one was. This was amazing. So this is a miracle, it's the Divine Mother coming in as the rainbow light. And there was one more. So I mentioned liberation. Yeah, this was the second best one I've ever seen in my life. The first one was, of course, 33 codes. So anytime we see a rainbow portal, it always is a miracle. This is not a rainbow in the sky. There's no bow. This is not next to the sun where you see the circle. This is a rainbow portal. And this is the rainbow serpent. So, because I mentioned liberation and I mentioned, so many different things here, I want to take us through the process of liberation and recommend a meditation. If you don't mind, 10 more minutes maybe. I don't want to take too much of your time, but it is all, of course, important because liberation should be our number one goal. Every one of us grew up in delusion. It only got deeper and thicker and stickier. And then, of course, the false matrix wanted us to believe that that's our reality. The false matrix is a little bit like in the movie Matrix. It was using our senses, televising certain realities to us. This is why we are in the past coming into the point of convergence, where we will realize how artificial intelligence has been used to create actually the false matrix itself, including some people within the false matrix. So when you now go out into the world, please have benefit of a doubt, meaning trust that everyone you encounter hopefully is a child of God, as opposed to labeling people artificial intelligence. All I want to say is that there is a mixture of both, but we just have to be responsible for our own selves and not trying to find flaws in others. Always looking within to find our own divine self so that we can see the true divine reality beyond anything else. One, in delusion, cannot see divine reality. One, in delusion, cannot even understand their own divine self, let alone have contact with them. It is a layer of thick membrane around us that prevents us from actually having direct communion with the divine self. The divine self exists eternally, doesn't go anywhere, doesn't hide itself from us. It's always available. But in this case, we do need a bit of a ladder going up to the divine self in our own structure. Shortcut, Divine Mother always reminds us, is pure love, free from judgment, free from doubt, pure love that doesn't have to be expressed towards anyone and anything. It is our true nature. Our true nature is the immediate elevator out of the mud of delusion. If one can exist in a state of love, it's a state, it's not an emotion. It doesn't need anything and anyone to be loved, except it knows itself as love. That is the elevator out of delusion. Our five senses do not give us any accurate picture of divine reality. Divine reality cannot be seen, sensed, touched, tasted, smelled by our physical senses. But we do have our higher dimensional senses, and those senses can perceive divine reality and even smell divine reality. Liberation is when we can be free of human emotion and yet be in a state of love. It is not a state that would be completely ignorant of human suffering. It's actually the opposite. It's incredible, deep compassion. And that compassion cares deeply, recognizing the depth of delusion that trapped billions of people. So, like, we have Babaji, deeply compassionate, and yet knowing that this is a world of delusion. So we are in the world, not of the world. How can one be in the world, not of the world? Everything that is happening is just something playing out. Sometimes interference, sometimes divine reality, sometimes nature. But the one who is in the divine self-consciousness is beyond that. They have transcended delusion. They can be here and things can happen around them, but they never happen to them. The things are just happening. It's a play playing out. The divine self person is not moved by the happenings of this world, and yet they can move if they want to, and they can act, but they do not react. They act from the center of consciousness with no attachment. When one is truly in the divine self, I was just listening to a very famous so-called guru who was saying, oh, it's totally perfectly fine to have thoughts all the time. You need them. And I was just thinking, well, I don't know how you could ever perceive your divine self if you will be engaging with all your thoughts. The divine self is thoughtless, complete emptiness. There is such silence that all you can hear is the music of the spheres. Everything playing out in this world, including the things at the South Pole, including the things of the false matrix, it all is delusion. The only way out is the divine self. We do it through meditation, and so many of us have practiced here daily, meditating in silence as well with Orin, using a little bit of breath, using a little bit of Orin to move our energy from the first three chakras. We are trying to be like a dragon, not like a dormant serpent who is asleep at the base of the spine. The base of the spine, as you know, if you are a mystic and practicing mystical techniques, you know you have to stretch your hips. Why? To allow the dormant serpent who has been asleep in the body to wake up. Stir that serpent up to fly high, to fly through the heart, to move up again towards spirit. And so to realize the self and express divine consciousness through the body, mind, and action is the purpose of human life, which is not to be stuck in the asleep personality self, which is asleep in the bubble. And what is the bubble from which we want to be liberated, not by denial, but by transcendence, ascension within? The bubble exists in the first, second, and the third chakra. That is the false matrix. The false matrix exists through the body, through emotion, through the mind. Our mind is not in the head. Our mind is not our third eye. Our mind is not our crown. Our mind can only operate, the human mind, in the third chakra. The false matrix trapped first, second, third chakra. And so people operate through the body, through emotion, and through the mind. But guess what again? Shortcut. Heart, love, bliss, ecstasy, but unconditional. If our bliss is conditional, then we are in emotion. That means today I'm feeling good, but tomorrow I might not. Unconditional love is called unconditional because it always is a state of being. It could be very silent, it could be invisible. It doesn't have to be expressed, it is emanated. Unconditional love is emanation, and it's not what people think. People think that unconditional love is something when you have a relationship with someone, then they betray you, that you keep sending them love. That's not unconditional love. Unconditional love is your own condition. It's your own state of being in which you exist like the sun. So if you exist like the sun, you don't have to send love to anyone because you simply shine to friend and enemy, and you don't make a difference because you don't see them. You see nothing in the heart. There is nothing. There's only you as the sun. So you take away all conditions of all delusion because the false matrix is all the conditions of the delusion. And that's why spirituality has been trapped by the false matrix too. We were told so many things in the false matrix about sending love and how something is good, something is bad. That all is true in the false matrix. In the unconditional state of the divine self that operates through the heart, there is complete freedom from all conditions, good and bad. That's what the Bhagavad Gita is about. That's what the Tao Te Ching is about. That's what Anandamayi was about. Nisargadatta Maharaj, great mystics who operated from the freedom of the heart. And so, as children of God, we are going through liberation from the false matrix within the first, second, and the third chakra. When we are the in the sphere of the false matrix within these three chakras, we cannot see our divine self. We cannot know our divine self. And so what Patricia was saying in her email as well, in the invocation that she shared, and I think I made a video in the past, so I'm going to go through all the videos, but I believe the invocation is from a video. So if I find it, I'll post it in Circle. So I wanted to end with something really miraculous. We will do more calls and more meditations. I just wanted to put this out here. But yesterday I came across, and I put it in Circle, a video. I kind of like the channel. It's religious people. I don't know what type of religion, probably Christians, speaking about miracles. And I always appreciate miracles. Jane says, you think it's vlog 89. Okay, I'm gonna take a look, but I think we even made a video about Christ consciousness, like with visuals. I'll definitely look. But this channel always has like people who can cause miracles, or they, pray and suddenly a miracle happens. And this was about a lady. I think her name is La Donna. And she was shown by our Divine Father that when she will play the violin, that people will experience God. And so I thought, I'll test it out because you have to test it out. So I went into my meditation room. I sat in my meditation chair. I played her violin thing, and this incredible light appeared in the room. And I felt this divine electricity. And so I wanted to close with that. She said that when you listen to this specific violin transmission, she keeps her heart on God. And so she's transmitting the sounds of God as much as a violin can transmit the sounds. And this specific one is liberation. It's liberating of the heart, which is your shortcut, my shortcut, everyone's shortcut. And so she says, when we say it is so, it must be so. And so together, let us say together, when we listen to her transmission of the violin, where she's transmitting the divine sounds of God, may all our hearts and the hearts of all children of God in this world, in this moment, in this now, be fully liberated, for the rainbow light to come through and flood this world, because that is ascension.
And I mean a high privilege of hearing the music of heaven.
Yes.
What is it like, LaDonna? The music of heaven. It's got to be out of this world. Sorry, I couldn't resist it.
How can I tell you with words, with a human voice, what that music could sound like? I could say to you, it has many, many, many more notes than we're used to hearing. The voices sounded like thousands or maybe millions of voices behind it, but it's unmistakable. You knew you were hearing something supernatural.
You see angels' wings, Jesus right by someone, healing them as you're playing.
Yes.
Tell me what angels' wings look like. I don't even know.
What I saw was clear, transparent, pearlescent, and very beautiful, like you see a big dove's white, beautiful wings. That's what I saw.
You proclaim that people are going to be healed before it happens. I do that too. And I have noticed that God honors it every time. Now, sometimes I proclaim it, and I'm not in a friendly environment, and if God doesn't show up, I'm in big trouble.
Jesus loves for us to believe his word. And that's all we're doing.
If I asked you to play your violin, which is right there, right now, what's going to happen? I want you to proclaim and then play that violin.
I know exactly what he's going to do.
Okay.
There are people, you need to be healed of a broken heart because there's something you've forgotten. Maybe some of you never knew it, but I'm going to let the notes speak to you.
And so it is, my dear friends. I will just recommend one meditation for liberation, and we will also do it together at a later time. This was miraculous. I know it's not at all about the tones. It is about the divine transmission that is happening, similar to what we do on these calls. It has nothing to do with the sound that you hear. It is the supernatural sound, the frequencies behind. And so I wanted to share with you, if I can find it, what I would recommend to do, and we will do it together again. We will not have a call at 5 today, but I will schedule some calls for next week. And so this is what I am working with every day. I've been working with it again and again and again for decades. This is one of the courses we have worked with together, and I highly recommend. There are several that you know I think are so important. This is accelerating your evolution. If you work with these tracks, with these transmissions, with these journeys, you will experience, thank you, John, you will experience so many miracles. I don't say it lightly when I say I promise, because you know, you cannot promise certain things. But I thought about this morning. I can promise that when you work with Orin, you will see transformation. So the track number 1, that is the ultimate connecting with spirit. Track number 3 is reaching beyond your soul in the spirit. And then I think number 5, if I'm not mistaken, is releasing limitations. Releasing all limitations. Isn't that incredible? It's just mind-blowing. Releasing limitations is number 6. So when you release your limitations, what you're releasing is you're releasing the false matrix from within yourself. Our physical body is not bad in any way, but it became a vehicle for the false matrix to trap the immortal. And yet the immortal could not fully be trapped. The divine self cannot be trapped. The soul cannot be trapped. But what can be trapped is just a little fragment of us. And so just a little fragment of us got trapped while the soul was free, while the immortal self, that is the spirit, also was free. And so just a little fragment of us got trapped in the false matrix. It is the light of the soul, and it is the light of the divine self that shines through our nervous system. It is the light of the divine self that gives us the experience of existence. Without that light, we do not exist. That's what makes us the children of God. And so a little fragment of us got trapped, and it was trapped through the body. And yet the body used to be free, and we used to have complete freedom. And so the way that it operated, it touched its dark web, because you can think of the operator of the false matrix as a very large, dark spider, a weaver of the dark web. And it's got nothing to do with the internet. It's just very sticky spider web. And it would attach itself to our organs. That's why we ended up in a fallen design of the physical body. This is the time of liberation from this fallen web. That's why people who fasted, that's how people, when they did a lot of physical techniques to liberate first the body from the false matrix. This is a different time. It's happening any which way, and we are aware of it. We are liberating. And so when you do track number 6, you are releasing the web from even your organs. You are releasing the web from your body so that your body can become free again. For example, Anandamayi Ma was in a free body. Yogananda was in a free body. There was no web. And so we are now going into that liberation, the freedom to be free in the free body and being able to go in and out and travel and come back if we want to. So the body itself will change as well. So definitely long enough of a call. I'll post this in Circle today. And I wish you all a beautiful process of liberation. And I look forward to being with you again. And I know Patricia mentioned today is her birthday. So happy birthday, Patricia. And I will go and look for the video for the Christ consciousness. And if I find it, I'll post it as well. So thank you so much and many blessings.